Hiya, folks. I'm Stephan Lang, and I'm totally jazzed to be here to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the release of Avatar. I'm also amazed that it's been 10 years because it seems like it was just yesterday. Well, I'm here to answer any questions you might have, and so why don't we get to it as we answer questions for the 10th anniversary of Avatar. First question is, what did you do to prepare for the part? What did I do to prepare for the part? Well, I kept it pretty simple. I worked out. My director, Jim Cameron, told me, I want you buff, I want you big, I want you blocky and strong for this role. And it made total sense because, you know, the world of Avatar, Pandora, is a very lush and a very lithe world. If you think about the creatures that inhabit Pandora, they tend to be very sinewy and they move in a very, very sinuous and fashion. We wanted Colonel Quaritch to be a real counterpoint to that. We wanted him straight ahead, big, angular, and strong. And so there was an awful lot of working out involved. I just wanted to get as big and brutal as I possibly could, and we did that. And then certainly there was a matter of kind of cultivating the jargon, the marine jargon that we wanted there. The whole idea was to create a character who was kind of a square peg in that world, who kind of didn't fit, who was trying to make the world that he was living on conform to him, rather than he conforming to the world itself. So all the choices we made, even the scars that we carved into the head, were angular and made to look almost like military chevrons, is what we did. So there was just an awful lot of conferencing with between the director and myself as to what we wanted this guy to look like, to convey, his walk, everything from the weaponry, his stance, everything about him. So that's kind of the way I went about it. But everything was really the core of it really had to do with the physical work, just staying on top of it and incredibly fit, I would say. Yeah. And I can tell you that that's the preparation that we continue to use as we move forward in the Avatar sequels. So I'll go to the next question. Did you have any particular role models in mind when you were developing the character of Quaritch? I won't say I had role models specifically in mind. I wasn't basing the role on any one character. Certainly, you might say that it would be fair to say that occasionally George Patton would come to mind. And when I say George Patton, I'm actually talking about George Patton as interpreted by George C. Scott in the film about Patton. I wasn't in any way trying to duplicate that. They're very, very different. But certainly the kind of authoritarian attitude that he had, the kind of confidence that he had, the surety that he had, that was all part of, that went into the makeup of the role. But, and even the arrogance of a MacArthur was there for him, of a, Douglas MacArthur, General Douglas MacArthur, I think. But I don't know. I was really looking to make a unique and characterization that kind of sprang out of my own imagination more than anything else. Some years prior to that, I was the original Colonel Jessup in the Broadway production of A Few Good Men, Aaron Sorkin's wonderful play that got made into a terrific film with Jack Nicholson playing the role that I had built on Broadway. And that's the way it goes. And certainly Jack Nicholson is one of the great, great actors. So there's certainly no shame losing a role, as it were, to him. But I think in some way, when I did do Colonel Quaritch, I was able to sort of exorcise the demons of not playing Jessup in the film. That's a very intimate kind of piece of information I'm giving out there, but it's all history in a way, so I'm cool with it. Yeah, so that was it. I wanted Quaritch to be a full-blown creation from out of my own spirit and soul and head, I would say. And Jim Cameron supplied all the raw material for that in the writing of the role. It was all just waiting to kind of come out. The ferocity and the aggression and the competence and all of those things, they were just so clearly there. And just in doing them, I didn't need any other material besides what was written there to do it. The next question I'm going to answer is, you have been in many movies before Avatar. Did you have to audition for the part? That's a great question. I did. At the time I was doing Avatar, prior to Avatar, I was about to open my own play in New York at the Roundabout Theater. And my play was Beyond Glory. It was a solo performance in which I portray 8 Medal of Honor recipients from different wars, different ethnicities. It's a real tour de force for an actor. And the play was being advertised in the New York Times. And Jim saw the advertisement in the Times, which was a very strapped picture of me in a sleeveless T-shirt, a very military pose, fist pumped and everything. And that's when Jim thought of me for Avatar. And so the script was sent to me, and then that was followed by a telephone conversation with Jim. And then Jim suggested that it would be really good to get together. And so on my day off from the theater, my work in the theater, after my last performance of the week, on a Sunday night in June 2007, I was flown out to California, and on Monday morning, I was taken up to Jim's place, his home, and in the kitchen there, we talked for a while, and then he said, I tend to think, well, with a camera on my shoulder, and I said, I expect no less. And he put the camera up, and we began to improvise, and that became my audition, as it were. And I suppose in some sense I knew it was an audition, but really the way it was put to me was really just as a working session, a very organic, natural kind of evolution from the conversation that we'd been having. And of course it was, in fact, an audition. And I remember that it went well. I just was trying to, I wasn't trying to do anything. I was just being Quaritch. At the time, I was speaking words as they came to me. Some of them had been scripted by Jim. Others were words that just seemed to flow out of the character. And we worked on various kind of aspects of the role. At some point, he put the camera down and said, I think we're good. And that was it. That's what constituted my audition. I know the audition, I've never watched it. I know it's out there, available to be seen by someone, and it would probably, shock me to watch it. But apparently it did the trick. Yep. So I've been in many movies before then, but none like Avatar, of course. And so I think it was altogether fitting and proper that I would audition for the role. And I'm glad I did a good job. I'm glad I didn't screw it up. Yeah. I'm not the best auditioner in the world. Not the worst either. About 1 in 5 times, I do something absolutely inspired in an audition. The rest of the time, I kind of stink, But there you go. Did you take any mementos from the set of Avatar? Did I take any mementos from the set? I think that I was going to take my ring. And the ring, if you look at the ring I actually designed that ring. I wanted a good ring. I said, here's what I would like you to do. I said this to the props department. I'd like you to take a 20-penny nail, a cut nail. So it's a squared, it's got a square head and a square, and I'd like you to turn that into a Q, some form of a Q. And I'd like to be able to wear it on this finger, and I want it raised so when I throw a punch with that nail, it could really do some damage. That's Quaritch. That's, you know, it was for Quaritch. And so of course I was going to take I was going to take that as a memento from the set because I kind of built it and I liked it. But in the end, I decided to leave it just in case it would ever be needed again. And by golly, it is needed again, so I'm glad I left it there. I'm trying to think if I took anything else. I took my water bottle, I think. And I'll tell you a funny thing. One of the things you always will take when you do a movie, it's sort of very traditional, is your chair back, you know, on a movie chair. And a lot of times they'll put your name on it and maybe your character and the name of the project. And actors, I have many, I have no idea how many I have. I have enough to make a quilt out of, I'm sure. And I would have taken the chair back from Avatar, except for the fact that we never had chair backs on Avatar. And this always kind of amused me, because here we are making, if you do an independent film, when I do an independent film, a film that is being made for $11.48, I guarantee you they will have chairs on there with the name of the film on it and your character or your name on there. They just do it. It's sort of the mark of this is a movie when you do that. Now, Avatar is, you know, by some measures, the biggest movie ever made, you know. It certainly was a pricey film, we know that. And yet, we never had chair backs with the logo on it or our names on them. And I think I remember, I think one time you know, I said, you know, you need a place to hang out, and if you have a chair with your name on it, then nobody's going to sit there, right? But if it's not, then it's hard to find a chair sometimes. And I remember once I said to John Landau, the producer, I said, hey, John, how come we don't have chairs with our names in it? And he said, it's a needless expense, which just tickled the hell out of me because, you know, because it was quite a place to save money. Anyway, to this day, on the Avatar sequels, we do not have chair backs with our name on it. I think there's a principle involved there in some point. So anyway, that's why I don't have that memento from the set, sadly, because it doesn't exist. And yeah, I don't know if I took anything else. Maybe my socks. I can't remember, though. But I didn't keep my weapon or anything. Everything was locked up against the day when we would need it again. And sure enough, that day came. What elements of my performance were improvised, and did you put your own spin on the character, play him as written? Well, one of the things that is really great fun about working with Jim Cameron is that he loves improvisation. He does not regard the words he writes, the dialogue, as, you know, as holy writ. If you can find a more appropriate, a more personal, sometimes a better way to say something, he's all for it. By the same token, he's always going to weigh in and say, well, wait a minute, no, try this, try that. So it very much is an ongoing collaboration. And that's true not only working with the director, but it's true working with the other actors as well, whether it's Sam or Zoe or Sigourney, whoever the scene may be with. there was a kind of a loose and improvisational quality to what was going on. We worked scenes for as long as we felt it needed to be worked until we had either exhausted the possibilities or just flat out exhausted ourselves and gotten tired of it, we're ready to move on. But so it was highly, yes, it was very, very improvisational. At the same time, there are some real strictures technically in what we're working in terms of the sets we're working on, in terms of when you work in performance capture, for example. They're just things that really, really do have to be observed. So at the same time you have a lot of freedom, you also have a lot of, there are harnesses on you in a way. There's certain limitations, but the key is to view them as opportunities rather than limitations. But I mean, I think, did I play him as written? Yeah, I played him, I think, as Jim conceived of him and as I interpreted that, and then it began to take a shape that we both, you know, that was Quaritch, you know, until at some point you can't think of the role, hopefully, any other way.